All right, let's start with a big question. What's the real difference between you and, say, a rock? It sounds super simple, right? But the answer is this amazing, complex dance of chemistry and physics. So today, we're going to dive into the four essential processes, think of them as the core rules of the game, that truly define what it means to be alive.
So, what really is that spark of life? Well, it's not some magic ingredient. It's actually a whole series of nonstop connected activities. And here's the key thing to remember. Life is a verb, not a noun. It's this constant state of doing stuff, of working to maintain this incredibly delicate balance against, well, everything that's trying to break it down.
And these activities, this constant doing, that's what we call life processes. You can think of your body like a massive city that literally never sleeps. Even when you're knocked out, fast asleep, there are countless jobs happening every single second. And every single one of those jobs needs a steady, reliable supply of energy to keep going.
Okay, so to make sense of this bustling city inside you, we can break it all down into four main pillars. It's a pretty logical flow when you think about it. First, you've got to get fuel. Second, you have to unlock the energy from that fuel. Third, you need to deliver that energy to where it's needed. And finally, you've got to clean up all the toxic waste that gets made in the process.
Right. Everything kicks off with fuel. So let's jump into our first pillar, nutrition. This is all about getting the raw materials, the energy and the building blocks that are going to power every single other process we talk about today. And life has come up with two totally brilliant strategies for getting food. On one side, you've got the autotrophs. These are the self-sufficient ones, like plants. They're basically solar-powered chefs making their own food from super simple ingredients. And then there's us. We're the heterotrophs. We have to go out and eat other living things to, well, steal their stored energy. For those autotrophs, the magic trick is called photosynthesis. They use this green pigment, chlorophyll, to catch sunlight, and then they perform this incredible act of alchemy, turning just air and water into glucose. That's a sugar that's just jam-packed with chemical energy. Oh, and as a little side effect, they release all the oxygen that we, heterotrophs, kind of need to live. So, thanks, plants.
Okay, and this is where things get really fun. And this is a major tip for you. You've got to try out the photosynthesis simulator. Go ahead, drag those sliders around. See what happens when you totally starve a plant of light, or when you crank the CO2 way up. Understanding these limiting factors, it's not just some random exam question. It's about really getting a feel for the fragile conditions that make life on Earth even possible.
Now, for us heterotrophs, getting our food is, well, it's a bit more involved. Our nutritional journey is called digestion, and it's basically a disassembly line. It all starts in the mouth, then moves down into the super acidic stomach where proteins get hammered. From there, it's into the long, winding tunnels of the small intestine, and that's where the real magic happens, absorbing all those nutrients into our blood. And here's another pro tip for you. Especially if you're using the interactive guide, click on every single organ. Seriously. Knowing that an enzyme like amylase gets to work right away in your mouth while pepsin waits for the stomach, that's not just boring memorization. It's about understanding the specific chemical tools your body uses and when it uses them to break down your food. All right, so we've got the fuel. But, a tank full of gas is pretty useless without an engine to burn it. So how do we actually unlock the energy that's stored inside that glucose we just got? Well, that brings us right to our second pillar, respiration. Okay, and right off the bat, let's clear up a huge misconception. Respiration is not the same thing as breathing. Breathing is just the physical part, moving air in and out of your lungs. Cellular respiration, that's the real action. It's like a tiny chemical fire happening inside every single one of your cells, turning that food into energy you can actually use. Now, this chemical reaction can go down in two ways. The main way, the one you want, is aerobic respiration. It uses oxygen, and it is super efficient. We're talking 38 units of energy, or ATP. Then there's the backup plan, anaerobic respiration. This one works without oxygen, but man, is it inefficient. You only get 2 ATP plus this nasty stuff called lactic acid. You ever feel that burn in your muscles when you're sprinting all out? Yep, that's lactic acid saying hello. So to keep that super efficient aerobic process firing on all cylinders, your cells need a ton of oxygen. And your body's solution to this is just astounding. Inside each one of your lungs, you have, on average, about 150 million tiny little air sacs called alveoli. Now get this, if you could somehow take all of those millions of alveoli and unfold them, laying them out flat, they would cover an entire tennis court. A tennis court inside your chest.
This huge, massive surface area is the whole secret. It's what lets oxygen jump from your lungs into your blood almost instantly. It is an absolute masterpiece of engineering.
Which, of course, brings us perfectly to our third pillar, transportation. Okay, so we've unlocked the energy, we've grabbed the oxygen, but none of that matters if they can't get to the trillions of cells all over your body that are just screaming for it. So how do you solve a logistics problem that big? Simple. You build a delivery network. A whole complex system of highways and side roads to get all those vital supplies to every single tiny corner of the body. And in animals, we call that the circulatory system. And at the center of this whole network is this incredible double pump, your heart. The right side handles what's called the pulmonary loop. That's just a quick trip to the lungs to pick up oxygen. Then the super powerful left side takes over. It pumps that fresh, oxygen-rich blood through the systemic loop, sending it everywhere. Your brain, your toes, you name it. And what are the delivery trucks on this highway? Well, that's your blood. You've got your red blood cells. They're the oxygen delivery guys. You have white blood cells. That's your mobile security force, fighting off invaders. Platelets are the emergency repair crew, plugging up any leaks. And it all floats around in plasma, which is the liquid that carries the whole team. And hey, this whole transportation thing isn't just for animals. Plants have their own super elegant solution with two separate highways. You've got the xylem. Think of it like a plumbing system. It's just a set of hollow, dead tubes that pulls water up from the roots. One-way street. Then you have the phloem. This is a two-way delivery service made of living cells, moving all that sugary food from the leaves to wherever the plant needs it. And here is your exam alert. This is a classic question, so listen up. The absolute key difference to remember is this. Xylem is dead, phloem is living. Xylem is just a passive straw, but phloem is made of living cells that have to actively work to move food around. That one little detail, dead versus living, explains everything about how they work. Don't forget it. Okay, so we've gathered the fuel, we've unlocked its energy, and we've delivered it all over the body. But here's the thing, every single factory produces waste, and the little chemical factories in our cells are no different. This brings us to our final and totally non-negotiable pillar, excretion. It's the super important job of taking out the trash. Yep, your body has a whole sanitation department. Your kidneys are the main players here. They're master filters that clean your blood, pull out a toxic waste called urea, and package it all up as urine. But that's not the only way. You're also excreting every time you breathe out carbon dioxide, and even when you sweat. And plants, they get rid of waste too, either by releasing gases or just dropping leaves that are full of junk.
So let's just recap and put it all together. Nutrition gets the fuel. Respiration unlocks the energy from that fuel. Transportation delivers that energy and carts away the waste. And excretion gets rid of that waste, so the whole system doesn't poison itself. See how it works? Every single process depends on the others. They're completely interwoven. If one of these pillars falls, the whole thing comes crashing down. That's the delicate balance of life, right there.
And that is the incredibly complex, nonstop dance we call life. So now that you've seen how all the pieces fit together, the real question is, are you ready to prove that you've actually mastered it?